when it's go time, it's time to operate. That's the only time you're going to determine if you're ready or not.
Do you remember that at all? I brought my full PC and I was carrying that thing through the whole, your guys' whole, and it came in and set up a whole computer and this whole thing, like this whole presentation. I'm pretty sure Justin was in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So, all right. So getting started with this thing. So first off, no pressure, but the last firefighter we had on, which you're following, is Kevin Shea. So so anybody who ever has to follow Kevin Shea is sorry for you, man, right off the bat. But could you start off, just give us a quick, what's your title, where you at, how long you been there, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So, introduce myself, I suppose. I'm Rusty Kramer. I work for Kootenai County Fire and Rescue. I'm a Battalion Chief. I was promoted in January. Been with the department going on 12 years now. I've been in all the ranks, from firefighter, engineer to captain. Spent a lot of time in the training division. Instructed 9 academies, or I'm not on my 9th academy that I'm instructing right now. I'm the Battalion Chief of Red Shift. But yeah, so that's kind of as far as my background at the department, but very training focused. That's kind of like my wheelhouse. That's something I really enjoy.
Have you always been with KCFR, or were you somewhere before that?
So I started at District 10, which is just to the west of Spokane, out in Airway Heights.
Oh, I didn't know
volunteered out there for about almost 2 years. That's kind of where, after I got out of the military, where I kind of got my feet wet in the fire service.
What year was that you were out there, roughly?
I want to say 2013, around that time frame.
Because that was our first facility we built, was out there at Airway Heights.
Yep.
Had you trained on that one before?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you got out of the military, and you were in the military from roughly what time? How long were you in the military for?
2007, 2012. Yeah.
Branch?
Marine Corps. Yeah. Yep. I was stationed down 29 Palms with 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines. We did 2 combat deployments, one Iraq in 2008, and then Afghanistan in 2010. And then before I got out of the Marine Corps, I got assigned to another unit, which was called TTECG. Basically what they did was they had basically these giant mount towns, these fake like villages, right? And units would come and do a 30-day training exercise. And basically we would prepare them for combat operations overseas. And everybody that was a part of our unit that trained units preparing to deploy overseas, we recently just come back from deployments, at least the majority of us. So we had a good idea of tactics, trends, and procedures of how the enemy was operating overseas. And it's all training related, you know. We basically put them through a series of training evolutions and expose them to different things to identify basically the areas they need to improve and things they need to sustain. So
you were deployed, and then when you came back, then you would be involved with the training of some other people who were getting deployed then, or other units getting deployed.
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha. So and that was in, you said South Palms or California?
29 Palms. So it's like an hour and a half away from Palm Springs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you, high school, straight into the military, got done with that. And then after the military, then that's where you moved to this area and decided to get straight into the fire service after that?
Well, somewhat. So I'm from here. Went to high school at East Valley. But after the Marine Corps, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, which is, 5 years to kind of think about it. Like, even talking to my wife about it, as I was getting out, the plan was always to do 5 years and then get out. So I started going to school to be a radiology technician. And so I started volunteering at a hospital as like a prereq. And, it was good. It was fine. But as I was doing it, I'm like, this ain't it. You know, I like operating teams. I like having, different things every single day. I like doing hard things. And ended up, I went over to my grandparents' house and I was talking to my grandpa. He's like, why don't you look in the fire service? And that's when the light bulb just turned on for me. I'm like, and that's kind of the road I went down, and here I am today. So
it's crazy because I've talked to a few of you guys, obviously, when we go to FDIC and stuff. And I talked about this. I get chills even before I say this. It's kind of crazy that I do, but like I can remember back, and I talked with Kevin Shea about this a little bit, but I can remember being on like a football team and that camaraderie and that group that you have, and you have a common goal, and you're training together, and you're out there working at practice, and you're in the locker room. You have and then you get out in the field. It's just like that, the brotherhood that you build in a team like that is unlike any other. And the only thing I can really compare it to is when I come to the fire service now, or like a military branch or something, you get deployed together and you just have that group of guys that you have that you do everything with, and you know everything about each other. And if you're in, you're out type thing. And I'm extremely jealous of that. And that's what we've tried doing here at this company. But that feeling, I've had that feeling too, man, where you have a job or something, you're just like, this just isn't it. This is not the feeling that I want to have. And we talk about that on the show all the time. It's like, look, if there's something that you feel like isn't the right thing, the hardest thing is making that jump like you did and moving from, hey, I'm doing this is what I'm going to radiology technician, and then boom, make that big turn. What made you decide? Because there's a lot of people who watch this that think that same thought, which is, you know what, this doesn't seem like the right thing. Maybe I should be doing this other thing. What made you just say, hey, I'm just going to go do this and get out? Did you have to stop what you were doing at radiology school? Were you in the middle of it?
I was in a pretty fortunate position. We were living with my wife's, parents. And so we had the luxury of kind of being a little bit more flexible. But, once I started at District 10, once we started doing like the academy and we're going through the evolutions and stuff, it brought me back to a lot of similarities in the Marine Corps. And I'm like, yep, this is it. And then fortunately, I was very fortunate to, when I graduated the academy from District 10, I got with a solid crew. When I got hired at Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, I got blessed with working with just studs. And I had great mentors around me that really just helped to fully ingrain, give me a strong foundation. And I was able to kind of move on and carry that, and I mean, even going back to like academies, like when we get brand new people, and we'll get a range of them, like I've gotten a 19-year-old before, right? And his really only job before that was a lifeguard, right? And then we'll get somebody who's 35 who has a plethora of life experiences. But that being said is when they come into our academy at Kootenai County Fire and Rescue is, we're all going to approach them the same as far as like, hey, you are, let's just say 7 people. You are 7 individuals. We're going to make you one team. We want you guys to be working hard together. And the only way you do that is through shared suffering, eating around, being around each other all the time, eating around the kitchen table, telling stories, learning about each other.
And when you say you have the, wide range of guys like that, because I feel like a lot of times when it comes, and maybe this is something in the fire service, but sometimes people look for, okay, what's your job history? What have you done in the past? But I've even found out, even in doing this, that as long as you have the personality to work hard, I don't care if before this you were doing radiology. I don't care if you were a nurse before this. I don't care if you were doing, substitute teaching, whatever you were doing. If you've got that mindset that I'm going to get in this situation, I'm going to put my heels down, I'm going to put the work in. It doesn't matter what you're doing before that. As long as you get that brotherhood with those guys, is what it seems like, that's going to be a unit that works well together. Probably the same thing with the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest things that, when I look at individuals as I'm sitting on an interview panel, is character. We hire for character, we train for skill. It's really that simple. As far as like determining like someone's grits or, mindset or whatnot, you can't determine that just in an interview by looking at somebody. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, just looking at people, I could think of multiple firefighters in our department that are, just look at them, they're smaller in stature, but like when it's time to work and it's time to get after it, like they have no stop. They just continue to move forward. They continue to push themselves, in the day-to-day operations as far as push themselves in training and whatnot or working out. So, because mindset's such a huge thing in what we do. In the fire service, and same thing with any business or athletic team. Like there's a pretty phenomenal book. It's called The Legacy by James Kerr, and it talks about like the New Zealand All Blacks and why they've been successful for so long. But they've taken lessons from businesses, different athletics, Formula One teams, and they've basically taken those best practices in the way that they operate.
In all of those things that you've done leading up to, you were at District 10 and you went to Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, and you're obviously doing a lot of the training stuff now. What position, looking back now, because you always look back and think to yourself, like, what's the position that you had the most enjoyment fulfillment in? Is the one you're now? What was it that you were doing before that you enjoyed the most during that?
I think it's sitting in the right seat as a captain. I think that's the best spot in the fire service for a multitude of reasons. I have multiple guys I'm working with, but I could help, if they have a roadmap of where they want to go, I got to be there and help them to take them down that road. But also too, when it's time to operate, when we get a call, if it's a fire or whatnot, like we get to go make a difference. And one thing I really strive in is like when I show up on scene, my incident commander or my battalion chief is like, yep, this is a go-to crew and we're going to get a good assignment and we're going to go make a difference. Like to me, that's why I joined the fire service, was to run calls, to work with a crew, and to make things better when things are pretty bad.
So if pays off the table completely, you could have any job. The job right now, I mean, rank, all that stuff was just gone, and everyone was just placed in a position, that's the position you'd take.
Oh, 100%.
Because you hear a lot too. I mean, with anything that we do, we always want to have that next thing, the next best thing. What can we do to keep going? And it's like, at the same time too, there's something to be said for the position that you're in and taking ownership of that and realizing that, you know what, yes, it's getting to this level, but at the same time, it's enjoying the parts along the way. You know, if you're in that captain's seat in the right-hand seat, it's like, you know, at that point, you're probably also thinking to yourself during that time, like, what can I do next to be here?
Yeah.
And then you look back, you're like, that was it. I actually had the thing the whole time.
Yeah.
Just goes to say that we always feel like we need to do something better, but sometimes the thing that we like doing is sitting right in front of us.
Yeah. It's, I've had similar thoughts when I was in the Marine Corps. I've had similar thoughts and conversations even in the fire service as well, as like we're always looking forward, but we're not enjoying the present, right? And you know, it's not until you move forward in different positions or whatever that you look back like, why didn't I just enjoy that more? There's something to really be said about that for sure.
And that's what I'm trying to see with like your kids now, man. It's like I'm trying to enjoy those like soccer games, the things that you're doing right now, because our mindsets are so much of just what can we do to be better? How can we make this better? And it's like, just enjoy. Talk back to my father-in-law, man, back in the day when I was like, when were you the happiest with your business? And he's like, actually, I was the happiest when I was working with customers and we had 15 people and it was, you know, we wanted to be to this huge thing, but I was the happiest, had the least amount of stress, and I was doing what I love. And there's something to be said for that, man. Just actually enjoying the moments that you're in and not feeling like you have to go. With that being said, you know, because you made the jump. There's people who look, and I can think of people in the bat right now who are thinking about jumping into the fire service. And this isn't where I want to take the whole episode, but at the same time, what would you say to people right now who are kind of battling that job right now and they've thought about going into the fire service? Is it something that you would suggest, younger people right now, or maybe even older? Is it a job right now that you would suggest and want people to get into?
The first question I would ask them is, what is your why? Why do you want to do this job? It's the same question I had to ask the recruits day one of the academy. Like when we're in the middle of our PT, when those guys are smoked, like, why do you want to be here? Why do you want to do this? Like, you need to understand this isn't about you. It's not about the person to your right or left. It's about the people we serve. And to me, like, if you have a strong understanding of why you want to do this job, because I mean, there's plenty of days where it's going to be tough. There's going to be plenty of days where it's, you know, below zero, but you still have to go out and train because it's not for you. It's for the firefighters you're working with, and it's for the people that you're serving. And for me, the people that are 100% bought into that, like 100%, like the fire service is an amazing career, and it's given me and my family a lot. And it's really like, it's all you can eat buffet. Like, you'd have as much as you want. You go back for seconds, you go back for thirds, but it's your choice at the end of the day.
And of that too, from an outsider looking in on that too, not everything. I mean, I think that's a common misconception for outsiders looking in, is like, what percentage of it is a fire call that you're actually getting in the fire service?
Minimal. Yeah, we like to talk about those, but I mean, I don't know what the actual numbers is for our department. I'd like to inflate it. I mean, I don't want people's houses to burn. I want to make that clear. But if there's a house on fire, I want to be there. Yeah. I mean, I would say 95% of our calls are medical calls. But I mean, the same thing is there is like, that's where we can make a huge difference in someone's life as well. I mean, it's no different.
So talking about that and talking about the training aspect, obviously for us as a company, we build training apparatuses, right? So I want to go down that road just a little bit. So, you know, you get into these ruts where, you know, and I was talking to Kevin Shea about this, whereas like he had never done a rope rescue or minimal. And then he gets a call one day where it's just like, boom, now he's got to be able to go out there and have a rope rescue 12 stories up, parapet wall, where he's dangling off the side and he's holding on to somebody. So how hard is it and difficult is it? I know for me, even just getting up and going to the gym's difficult, right? But how difficult is it in the fire service to tell everyone that you're around, or the guys who've been in the service for a while, hey, these are the situations we're training for. When 95% of the time you're going out and somebody's just calling because, they felt like their heart was doing something, or it's like you go out to these EMS calls, or you go to these calls that just are nothing. And then all of a sudden you have to be on cue right away. I think about it like sitting on the sideline for a basketball game, right? And you're just sitting there all game, and then you all of a sudden have to shoot a free throw at the end of the game to win the game.
Right.
It's like you have to be on in that 1 second. How do you guys train for those situations?
Well, I mean, it all stems from culture. Like, what type of culture do you have within your crew? What kind of culture do you have in your departments? If you have a culture of training and preparation, when those calls come out, you've already done the reps. I look at substantial calls. You're not going to rise to the occasion. You're going to fall to your level of training. That's just a fact. You can't rely on adrenaline. You have to rely on your physical fitness, the reps that you've done on the training grounds, that you've done in the classroom, the reps you've done with your crewmates, with your crew members, and that's that. When it's go time. It's time to operate. That's the only time you're going to determine if you're ready or not.
With that, I want to steer that into, because obviously you guys do a lot of, you, Justin, Steve, Matt have done some training exercise for us, especially like FDIC. And talking about the training, it's interesting to me that, I'll precurse this a little bit. It's like when you go to train, there's never one scenario that you can train for.
Right.
And it's what are you getting out of the training? And I'm not talking from experience, obviously, but just from what I've heard from you guys. But it's interesting to me is that when, you guys will go on YouTube or stuff, or you'll go on Facebook with us, do all these training exercises, and you're showing, okay, here's how we bail out of a window. Here's how we do so. From an outsider looking in, what always gets me, and you guys handle this so well, is that the comments that come in from people who are just like, that was wrong. You weren't supposed to, the Denver drill wasn't supposed to be done that way. You're supposed to do it. It's like if, what's crazy to me though, is that being in the fire service, it almost seems like you should know that just because a specific drill was done this direction or this way, you're never going to get, let's just take the Denver drill, for instance. You're never going to get a perfect situation again where someone's laying in that exact spot. Shouldn't we be training on those in different directions and doing different things? And shouldn't we have multiple different ways that we can bail out on a ladder? And I mean, it seems to me like I've never seen a positive comment from somebody on any of these videos. Everyone's always got something negative to say about everything. Do you agree? I mean,
I don't know. I should do a better job of not reading comments, but I mean, to me, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And when I look at training evolutions, like what's the intended outcome that you're wanting out of that training evolution? The Denver drill is a perfect example. As far as like having that confined space, like if that's the intended outcome, as far as like, hey, we want to take this down firefighter, we want to take them out of a window, and it doesn't matter if they're up 2 floors or if it's ground level. If what we're wanting to do is maneuver that down firefighter and get them out, and that's what we wanted out of the training, it doesn't have to be A to Z, the Denver drill being, set up perfectly is the way it was designed to be, set up. There's still benefits from getting those reps in, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, because I mean, it almost seems to me like when you go to do those drills, especially, if somebody knows this is exactly how this drill goes, who was I talking to? Maybe it was Justin I was talking to. But he was like, hey, when we do this evolution or training, maybe the guys know that we're going to do this, but hey, we're going to throw a power line in the way. Or you know what, we're going to throw like a bunch of bushes in the way at the bottom. Just something to change up, because people get so track of, okay, this is exactly how this is supposed to be. And then you get an obstacle out in the field that happens, like, oh shoot, well, how do I navigate this?
Right.
And so being able to practice in those scenarios where something's completely different every time, maybe there's 2 people laying on the top of each other.
Yeah. What's
someone going to say then? Well, this drill's, I mean, we actually trained on this with one person. It's, no, you got different scenarios each time. Maybe 2 people collapse out a window, and now what do you do in that situation?
Right.
But it seems like everybody's an expert until behind the scenes. And so I commend you guys for doing what you do, getting the videos that you guys get out, especially on social media, knowing that you're just going to get people who know exactly what's supposed to be done and then give you guys a feedback on it. So
yeah,
commend you guys for that.
It's all noise. I mean, we were talking about like, trainings or setting up evolutions and whatnot. Like to me, the way I look at it, or the way I design trainings for like my guys, there's an approach to it. As far as like, I'm not just going to set up an evolution where I'm just going to throw you in. You're going to have to do 10 different skills. Like, was there a build up to that? There should be like a crawl, walk, run approach. It's the same thing when I look at like football season, like from starting in spring to summer camp to fall when it's actually game time. You guys don't start off in spring, I would imagine, full gear, running full speed tackle evolutions. Like there's a build up to that. It's the same approach, because if I have a new crew that hasn't trained a lot or hasn't worked with each other a lot, and we just do a full-blown evolution, there's going to be a multitude of failures. I've added too many stressors into there, and there was no build-up for us to be successful.
Gotcha. Yeah, that seems like a key thing, is being able to just do different things for the people to get their minds just going a little bit. So you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I'm sure there's been scenarios where you've been to the same type of call, but there's never been two scenarios that are probably the same. And that's really sounds like what you guys need to be preparing for, is just, you know what, we did it this time this way, but then next time we're going to switch this and this up, which may seem like the same, but now you got X, Y, and Z to go over in that middle of that, or, something else you have to, just some sort of obstacle you have to add in every single time.
Yeah.
So, I'll put you on the spot just a little bit. So, I mean, it seems like for a lot of firefighters that I've talked to, you have a call or something that you've been on in the past that's maybe changed you, or something that, this is a scene, or this is an instance that I've been on before that, we didn't train for before, or, we had to kind of just take it by the whim, and we had to just do something completely outside of the normal, or something that you maybe learned on a call that you can talk to everybody about. You have any stories like that or anything like that you've been on?
I'll give you one when I was on probation. When I got on to shift work, I went to Blue Shift Station 3 under Captain Harwood. He was my first captain, and he was recently just promoted, so I was his first probationary firefighter. And one of the things he loved to do was go through our confidence trailer. And we would just go through that thing all the time. And when I first went through it, I'm like, I don't like this. You know what I'm saying?
I don't blame you.
But through, a multitude of repetitions, right, it just became normal. I became really comfortable being in tight spots. I knew how to maneuver my body with my pack on air, controlling my breathing, making that bottle last. And it was halfway through my probation. And anytime we'd get big calls, like, there would be guys in our crew that would be in the spots that it was, for them to operate. I'd be more kind of in a support role, just kind of doing my part. But of course, Frank, Captain Harwood, and my mentor that was assigned, he was a firefighter, Brooks Brown, were both gone in California for Firehouse World. And of course, that's when you're going to get a crazy call. When the guys that are the top dogs in your crew, when they're gone, you're going to get a call. So we just got back from a structure fire, and I was showering at the station, covered in soap, and a call came out for confined space rescue. And so I jumped out of the shower, got in the rig, and we made our way down there. And there was this worker, he was working on a respirator inside a confined space. The respirator line got cut, like the hose got cut in it, and he ended up going unconscious in there because they were spraying like some sort of fumes in there that was not good for respiratory. And somehow, some way, as a probationary firefighter, I found myself in there and with the unconscious person. But when I went down into that tank, I got down there, I thought to myself, how am I in this position? Like, is this happening right now? And I got down in the tank, and I had to work my way to the back of it. And I looked across the tank, and it was baffled, right? And I'm like, all right, this is just a confidence trailer. That's all it is. And so I worked myself back, and I had to maneuver my pack a little bit in some tighter spots and whatnot. I made my way to the back of the tank, and the attendant who was watching, or who was keeping track of the person inside, was in there with the unconscious individual. And the male that was unconscious, he was probably like 220 pounds. So I had a conscious person that was freaking out because he's never been put in a situation before where his coworker is unconscious right next to him. And I have an unconscious person as well. So not only did I have to deal with the unconscious person, but I had to deal with the conscious person, the other worker, right?
Are you the only one in there?
I was the only one in there at that point in time because there wasn't enough space for more people to get back there. If we sent more people back there, we just wouldn't be able to move them. And so I just kept it very simple. Like in my brain, I'm like, let's just keep it simple. Everything we do is the basics, right? If we're good at the basics, we can adapt and overcome to any obstacles that are kind of thrown at us. And so I coached him as far as the conscious person, kind of what I wanted him to do to kind of get him out of there. And once we got him out of there, we were able to bring one more firefighter down at the entry point. And then from there, I looked at the unconscious person, I'm like, how am I going to move this adult male who's 220 pounds, unconscious. So he probably feels like he weighs 350 pounds, right?
How big of a space? I mean, roughly. Are we talking you're in a space 6 by 6? I mean, are we low ceiling?
Low ceiling. I couldn't stand up. I was squatting, and I mean, it was, I don't know, no wider than kind of 4 feet, because when he was on the ground, he was bunched up, right? So he couldn't even stretch his body out.
Gotcha.
And so we ended up just moving him under a baffle, over a baffle, under a baffle to get him out. And my whole time as I was in there, I was like, all right, I need to make my bottle last. Like, we don't have time for me to swap out, somebody else come in. We have to get him out. And this is, we just have to make it work. And, through just taking myself back to the amount of reps I did in that confidence trailer, keeping myself calm, like, to me, that was really the big difference maker. And that's when, like, in my brain moving forward, that light bulb just kind of came on as far as the importance of repetitions that we do in the training grounds, in the classroom, and just sometimes just keeping it simple. But when things go awry or you have a call, like, you've been there before, you've done it. The environment may be different. You may have a couple different stressors or obstacles, but those are ones that you can concentrate on now and adapt to. But your controllables, as far as preparation, like, that should all be done on the front end, And we ended up getting him out. I ended up meeting him, I think like a month later. Got to shake his hand, which was pretty cool. But probably the most satisfying thing is after the call, when I got back to the station, Frank Harwood called me. He's like, "Good job." He's like, "I'm proud of you." And hearing that from a guy you look up to, your mentor, that meant a lot. So
That's huge, man. And how long was he unconscious for in there? So he was on an airline in there.
Yeah.
Got cut.
Yeah.
Passed out.
Yeah.
And so the fumes inside this thing were pretty heavy. I mean, there was somebody else in there who wasn't on air, I'm assuming?
He was on a respirator.
Oh, he was on a respirator too.
Yep, he was on a respirator. Yep. Yeah, and my concern when I was talking to the conscious patient that was in there was, I didn't want him freaking out, like thinking he can't breathe or whatnot, and reach for my mask, right? And having him in there wasn't going to be beneficial. I wasn't going to have him, help me get him out, because there's just too many unknown variables with that.
Gosh, man, that's I always look at that. I mean, because we build obviously SCBA confidence courses and like entanglement training, and I look at that as just, even when the container doors are open and it's light in there, and getting inside one of those, I've had to get in it before and just kind of go down and adjust a piece of wood or screw a piece of wood in and stuff. And you just think about, man, this is uncomfortable. And then you get inside that with a full gear on, entanglement, pitch black, and it takes a special person to do that, man. It's all about breathing, it seems like. I mean, I know for me, I get in stressful situations and it's just breathe, breathe, breathe. But in those situations, if you freak out, you're SOL.
Yeah.
So that's huge. I haven't heard a story of somebody talking about a confined space rescue that they've done before. I've heard a lot of rescues. We're in this house, can't see anything, but I haven't heard anything. Is that why you guys have that tank out there now?
Yeah. So they donated it after that.
Really?
So we could train in it. Yeah. That's where it came from. But that also too, that's why, like, for our confidence trailer that we have at our department, that's why I'm such a believer in it.
Yep.
It's from that call right there. And not even just from a confined rescue standpoint, it's just being comfortable in your gear. When your respiratory rate's up, your heart rate's up, like, you're going to go down two different roads. You're going to freak out, and things are going to only get worse, or you're going to reset yourself, calm yourself down, think about what obstacles ahead of you and how you're going to maneuver past it.
How often do you do that with your trainees then? Every single one of them you put through that course?
Yeah, the recruits, we go in there a multitude of times. And so we usually amp it up as well. So the first time they go through, they'll just go in one at a time. But we build it up to where, like, once they have some confidence of going through there, now we're going to attach you to somebody else. Now you have 6 feet in between each other, which is really like 2 feet, because you're going to be on your stomach in there.
Yep.
And so now you're tied to your partner. Your partner can go only as fast as the person behind you, and going through obstacles makes it that much more challenging, because it's two of you going through obstacles now. And the reason we do that is now this is stress on teamwork, communication, right? You're only as strong as your weakest link, right? If you have one person that's kind of freaking out, the other person has to coach them, get their mind right.
That course, I mean, I'm sure everyone in the fire service knows the course, but your guys' course, man, is a 40-foot box, 3 levels. I mean, that thing it's intense, man. You guys have some, and probably, I'm sure, just for that reason. But I can imagine that if you get trainees and you put them through that right off the bat, you can pretty much tell the ones, I would assume a lot of the times, like, hey, this is a person who can be cool, calm, and collective. This is that person that's going to freak out a little bit. But that's enough to break somebody.
Well, I mean, I've seen a multitude of people like freak out and they rip their mask off. But from there, like, that's your starting point. Okay. And then what we do from there is, for the people that freak out, we identify, like, what was the stressor that made you freak out, right? Okay, let's coach on that. We're going to go through it again and, help them overcome that fear that's in their brain of theirs, I mean, because at the end of the day, it's just a box it's like a giant playhouse. Right? Yep. We put any of our kids through it, they would absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But as soon as we put, our gear on, our SBA on, our mask on, now we're on air, we're hot, we're tired getting through that thing. I mean, it's with anything, fatigue will make cowards of everybody, right? So it's just learning to, when you hit that point of identifying, like, hey, heart rate's up, respiratory rate's up, like, this is the time to reset, take that deep breath, calm down, and move forward.
Gosh, yeah, I commend you guys for that, man. That's that SCBA course that's a Betty, man, for sure. But as far as other things for training, I mean, the position you're in now, obviously Battalion Chief, you got promoted, you said, in January, right? Are you enjoying that position? Is that something that you're glad you're doing right now? What's next for you in the fire service? Yeah.
So, I mean, I was pretty on the fence about it. I mean, with our department, things kind of accelerated my timeline of why I'm a battalion chief. And so even going into it, I had a lot more thought going into it than as I did engineer or captain. Not that I overlooked those positions, but I'm 12 years in. I mean, I'm very much well aware of that's not the norm across the fire service as far as being a battalion chief. But I listen to the people around me, the mentors around me, and I know I can make a difference in our organization, help be a catalyst amongst catalysts in our organization. And, it's May right now, so 5 months into it, I love being a battalion chief. I have phenomenal people on Red Shift. We've been very fortunate to have some pretty substantial calls since then, and that's the stuff that really, brings you together. Because I was on Red Shift when I was a captain, and so I got to stay on Red Shift as a battalion chief, and I went into it knowing, like, hey, these guys know who I am, especially, as a captain. I worked with majority of these guys, majority of my career. But that being said, I'm in a new position. I have to earn their trust, even though they know who I am. Yep. Because when stuff hits when it hits the fan, right, I'm in a different position. I'm making a lot of the calls, but I'm relying on my guys to make the right calls within their tasks and get the job done.
And I've never obviously been on staff with you, but what's kind of interesting is, and I know I always kind of relate this back, but like, the best football players don't always make the best coaches, right? But you can always tell the ones who are going to be good coaches one day because they know the game. They kind of are able to kind of be cool, calm, and collective in those situations. And so what I've always admired about yourself, being around yourself even, is that you get around people sometimes who feel like to be smart in the room, they have to say something, right? And it's a lot of times the smartest person in the room is the quietest person in the room. The person who kind of lets people think about something, kind of sits back, and you have that trait. And I've noticed that. And I've talked to even Justin about this before. It's like when you get around Rusty, like, I think about if I'm driving on the road, I'm in an accident, who do I want to show up on that scene? There's very seldom people there's some guys I know in the fire industry that I've talked to that I'm just like, I don't know if I want that guy on the scene. But there's someone like yourself who you can just tell your mind's just going. You're thinking through the process. You speak when you have to speak. You talk when you have to talk, but when you do talk, you command the room. So I commend you for that, especially at the age that you are, man. And for 12 years in, having that position, that's not something that you have to take lightly. And you've done a hell of a job doing it. So
I appreciate it. It's funny because I've chatted with buddies about this before. I was like, I'll have especially early on, I'll have imposter syndrome, and just from a standpoint, I'm like, because I'll be driving to work, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that I need to do differently, or I'm trying to constantly evaluate myself, which is the hard part. But what I really try to do is really keep open line of communication to the captains, engineers, and firefighters to making sure I'm giving them exactly what they need. Because if I'm not doing that, I'm not doing my job. Because it's literally not about me anymore.
Yeah, there's a great saying, I know I've said it in the past, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's, mediocre people do a little and expect a lot in return. But the people who are successful do a lot and fear they're not doing enough. And so that particular thing, like you're out there, you're doing something like, gosh, what could I have done? Even if you think that you failed at that, right? There, you look back at it and you say, how could I have done that better in that situation? Even if it went good. Evaluation and self-evaluation and surrounding yourself with the people who don't necessarily, and look, this is by no means me coaching. This is just things that I've heard and I'm seeing, but it's like the people who do so well seems like the ones who surround themselves with the people who don't necessarily say the things they want to hear. They're going to give you the truth. You're going to learn from it. You're going to move forward. And the best critic is yourself. And if you're able to do that with yourself and think through, crap, what can I have done better because I'm failing? That just shows that you're in the right position.
Yeah. And I think too is having systems in place to be able to capture that. Like, so for any substantial call, I'll always pull a radio traffic. I mean, I'm listening to myself and breaking it down, but I'm also listening to all my guys as well. And I'll send out the radio traffic so everybody can hear themselves on the radio because it's always different. And another thing too is I have a GoPro with me. I'll record training evolutions. I'll record like actual calls. And then I'll go to the station and have them watch. It's like game tape for football.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's always different when you watch yourself versus you in first person, you're doing it and you're just relying on your memory. I'm like, yeah, that went pretty well. Then you watch a video of yourself like, I was moving so slow. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I mean, so with that, moving into real quick, and I want to make sure, because it seems like if you say something, people can take it wrong sometimes. So this is by no means, even looking to the camera, this is by no means Rusty telling you guys how you should do things. But what I want to know is from you, talking to other people in the fire industry or chiefs or just from the position that you're in right now, for you, again, not stuff that we're telling you guys you have to do, but what is something that if you were going into another station or you're going to another district, let's say you're going across the floor or wherever you were going, what is one of the first things that you would implement that you have learned from your own experience? What's one of the first things you would implement in your training scenarios with another department? Would it be that? Would it be trafficking? Would it listen to your traffic? What would you would say is the most important aspect that you would bring to a fire station?
Oh, I mean, that's a loaded question. I mean, the thing that comes to my mind is, you know, when someone calls 911, the incident's already happening. We're always behind the eight ball as far as time. Like we're always trying to find ways to catch up on time, right? And so the best way we could do that is by controlling our controllables. What I mean by that is, you know, establishing time standards within your crew. Like if it's getting a hose line on the ground, if it's a mask up, if it's taking a hydrant, if it's popping a door. But what you're doing is you're establishing pace. What I mean by that is intended movement, like on the fire ground, emergency call, a car wreck. You're speeding up your operations by having like a company standard or a shift standard. And if you do that, in my eyes, like if you have a standard of doing a mask up, going on air, and if it's 15 seconds, right? Well, now as you're walking up to the building, you just got assigned primary search of the first floor of a house that's ripping, right? You're no longer thinking about your mask up because you've done it hundreds, thousands of times, right? And you know you could do your mask up in 15 seconds. You don't have to think about it. Now you can look at the building, size up the building. Where's the fire at? Where I'm going to make entry on this house, and now you start thinking about your assignment. So ways that we could take back time to help make a difference, you know, on the person that's probably having the worst day of their life.
That's huge, man. It's just muscle memory, having muscle memory on things that you do. And then, I mean, honestly, I hadn't heard anyone say that before. Like going back and listening to your calls to me, that seems like a huge thing. Like, hey, what? You were extremely panicked in this situation. So how could we have done that? That seems like a huge one as well. Just listening to and re-listening to the radio calls from a scene. Because, yeah, just like film. That reminds me of the same exact thing. You get done with a game, you get done with something, you get the film session, you go back and you realize, like, shoot, I didn't even know I was doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, it even happens sometimes on these episodes where I'm like, gosh, I didn't even realize I was doing that situation. And go back and watch this, right? So that's huge, man.
Well, I mean, I always had a fascination with like athletics and as far as like the comparison of athletics and the fire service. And one thing I always like doing is talking to coaches. Yeah. And I always found it interesting as far as like after games, the coaches would basically grade their players, you know, from film tape. And to me, I'm like, why don't we do more of this? Why don't we have an evaluation or whatever it looks like, or if it's just breaking it down, you know, after the incident and giving your guys like, hey, this is how you operated. Here's a video you operating. Not necessarily grade, but breaking it down a little bit more.
That's because I mean, when you get in those situations, it's one thing in practice, it's practice. One thing like in a confidence course, right? But then you get into the situation like yourself, where you were able to just calm yourself down because you've done it 100 times.
Right.
But when you're in the situation, right, you look back and say, hey, you've done that 100 times in the training building, but then you get out here on a scene and listen to yourself. You're completely different. How could you have done that different? I know for me, if I got on a scene, man, it would just be straight adrenaline and panic right away, but I've never trained for it. So it's almost in that training scenario, just keeping people calm, cool, calm, and collective, and replicating that. And watching film, gosh, there's times in film, I can remember sitting in football, and it was just like guys would do something completely different. So why did you do that? Well, it was the adrenaline during the time. Well, how do we control the adrenaline then? How do we step back on that?
Yeah.
That's huge. So stepping away real quick, so we'll wrap up with this one. Outside of the fire service, or some hobbies, what are things you do? Golf a little bit?
I do like golfing. That's kind of my decompressor. I grew up golfing. Grew up all the time, like summer times. My grandpa would come pick me up in the mornings. We'd go golf over in Liberty Lake. That's kind of it. And then I'm in a stage of life right now where it's my kids' sports. It's like I might as well have a minivan on my 4 days because it is athletics every single day. Between now and Monday, my son has a game every day, and it's Friday.
How old is he?
So he's 9.
9?
Yeah.
That's a fun age, man.
Yeah, it is fun age.
9-year-old daughter too, man. It's just like you never realize that when you're 5 or 10 years ago, like, oh, I'm gonna have a kid and I'm gonna live vicariously through that kid. But really, I mean, gosh, you go out to the soccer practices now and like I get the same adrenaline rush and feeling going to watch their game. I'd much rather go to their games and sporting events than go to an NBA game or NFL. Like the joy you get out of that is just something like I never thought I'd have.
Yeah, I mean, I played sports my whole life growing up, and there's a lot of satisfaction just watching, my daughter or my son playing sports. And it's funny because I didn't really think about it till literally right now. It's even the same thing like on the fire ground as a battalion chief as I'm in the rig, and I want to be out there pulling hose lines, but it's awesome watching my guys go out there and just crush a call. Yeah, it's the same. It's funny.
That's not to try beating a dead horse with golf, but what's your handicap?
To be honest with you, I have no idea what my handicap is. I've golfed since I was a kid, but I have no idea. So I'll golf I would say high 80s, mid 80s. So
that's good.
Well, when we did your golf simulator, I was getting super frustrated because I was just topping the ball. I'm like, what is going on here?
Well, in your defense, the golf simulator has been great to have up here, and everyone at work's been using it, and it's helped everybody's game. But you hit a bad shot on this one, man. It comes back and hits you for sure. But it's been, gosh, we started doing this, and I've started to figure my game out a little bit, man. But it's been, I'll tell you what, I found that there's more people in the fire service that golf. It seems like, at least. I don't know if there is with you guys, but it's been an absolute blast to be golfing with everybody here and you guys and everything else, man. So we got to get on the course sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anything else before we close out?
No, I appreciate you having me come on here and chat with you.
Well, that's one of the things we're trying to do now is, I mean, it kind of goes on brand, confident risks and just, obviously us building fire. We tried making the show more kind of about, business startups and stuff, but really the following that we have is the fire service. And so the goal is to bring on more fire service guys just like yourself and other people in the industry, just hear their stories, what they have to say, because really, I mean, how much better of a way to learn than from guys like yourself. And my hope from this too is that when people listen to these episodes too, is that they're listening for what it is. I mean, take something from each little thing that you hear, whether it's a training session, whether it's something like this. No one's saying that this is exactly how something has to be done. But at the same time, if we're not willing to learn from the people who have done it so well, like yourself, then what are we really doing?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Perfect, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it.
Yep.